TV back here for another Tottenham update with Danny Kyriakou in the studio. Big up, Danny.
Big up, Ben. Thanks for having me, man.
Less than a month till the Premier League restarts. We're getting a few transfer rumours. The silly season is about to begin. Only one Spurs game to go until the transfer window does reopen. And we've got some rumours to talk about. And let's start off with Sofyan Amrabat. Remember that name that everyone didn't want us to sign last January? Well, he's actually had a turn of fortunes in his career since then. Been playing really well for Fiorentina. Has played really well in this World Cup for Morocco. And he's a player that I've been actually really impressed with, and a few publications talking about it. La Repubblica is saying that Tottenham are rekindling their interest in Morocco and Fiorentina midfielders Sofyan Amrabat, and they are considering a January swoop. The Telegraph are saying that Amrabat's brother has confirmed that he was close to joining Tottenham earlier this year. Corriere dello Sport saying that Liverpool are also eyeing a potential move for rumoured Tottenham target Sofyan Amrabat in January, but the Fiorentina director has said that he's talking about Amrabat on the links to Tottenham and Liverpool, and he says we want to keep Amrabat here. There are no plans to sell him. We've got the option to extend his contract till next year if we want. There is no rush. He is part of our plans. In terms of Amrabat, first of all, what do you think about him? And do you think the profile of player that he is, do you still think we need that player with the Højbjergs and Bentancurs in the squads?
So I think Amrabat, I think there's a lot of people who, when the links came out last summer or last January for him being linked to coming to Tottenham, a lot of people are like, oh, for God's sake, it's Amrabat. Why are we going for this guy?
No one really heard of him.
No one, yeah, or like no one really kind of. I'm not sure. Did he play in the Premier League at one point? I think he did, didn't he? Sofyan Amrabat. I can't remember who he played for. I'm sure he played for someone.
Well, I'm about to find out.
But yeah.
No, he played for Utrecht, then Feyenoord, then Club Brugge, and now Fiorentina.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So. With Amrabat, I think he's definitely become a lot better over the last 2 years, I think, and he's definitely a very good player. I've liked the look of him in the World Cup, and from what I've seen of him in Italy, he's a pretty good player. He's like a workhorse as well.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing I would probably say is if we didn't have Højbjerg, I would say yes, bring him in. I just feel that he's very similar to type of player to what Højbjerg can offer.
Yeah.
He might be maybe better in certain aspects, like in terms of his. I wouldn't even say his passing range and stuff like that, because Højbjerg actually can pick out a ball quite well as well, and I think he's
getting more progressive in his play.
Definitely getting more progressive in his play. So this time a year ago, if I knew what I know about Amrabat now, I'd probably say it'd be a good option to have. I mean, look, he'd be better than someone like Skip or who else we've got, any options we've got. It'd be like a like-for-like replacement. But I just feel that there's no point going for another player who we've got really someone similar already in that position. I think if we're going to go for a midfielder, we're going to need someone who's going to give us something that we don't have. And I think that what he offers, we've already kind of got. He might be able to do some things better, but I think it'd be a waste of money or waste of a loan deal or whatever it is. Essentially, it's a waste of money getting him in. I don't know what you think.
I completely agree. I think that with the likes of Højbjerg and Bentancur, I think that Amrabat ship has probably sailed now, and I think that we've got Højbjerg and Bentancur, and I rate those two players higher than Amrabat anyway. So, and also it's interesting when you're looking at the stats of most possessions won in the World Cup so far. Bentancur number 1 on that list.
Number 1, yeah. See?
And Højbjerg is number 4.
Yeah, see, exactly. Is
Amrabat's number 9.
Number 9, yeah. And there you go. So ball recoveries as well. Obviously, our two midfielders are better at doing it from what the World Cup stats are. And they've been very good in the Premier League as well this season, both of them. Especially Bentancur's gone up another level with adding goals to his game and stuff like that. So if we're going to add another midfielder, because I don't think it's really... Right now, I don't think it's a crucial I
think we need more of a ball player.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to say players like Maddison and players like that ilk kind of to come in and who are really like attacking type of midfielders, or someone who's just creative, really, someone who's a lot more creative.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the type of player we need in the midfield if we're going to get anyone. Yeah, I just think it'd be a waste of a position or waste of money spending to bring someone in like that. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to bring in an attacking type of player. Like we were talking about earlier, someone like a Kudus or someone like he'd be a great
Would
player.
love Kudus through the door, really would. Versatile player, can play through the middle, can play out wide as well.
He can play deeper as well. He plays sometimes he plays in a deeper line position.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Wow.
At times he does, yeah.
I would love him through the door. I really would. You'll never guess, though, who is number 2 on that list of ball recoveries or winning ball possession at the World Cup. Christian Eriksen.
Really?
Yeah.
Eriksen. Wow. Well, I know when he was playing for Tottenham, he always was up there with most distance covered in terms of the amount of times he used to cover the pitch. And I'm not sure what his recovery stats were, but that's quite surprising to be fair.
It's interesting, yeah.
It's showing that he's still working really hard.
Absolutely, absolutely. In a very poor Denmark side in this World Cup. But let's move on. Let's talk about Frank Kessie now. Dario AS, a publication out in Spain, say that Barcelona are ready to sell Frank Kessie for a cut price fee of 8.5 million in January after the midfielder was once rumoured to be on Tottenham's radar. Is he one as well that's a bit too similar in terms of profile to Højbjerg and Bentancur?
I would say so. I think he offers something a bit different to them. I think he's more like a Thomas Partey type of player. And I think he would be a good addition, but I say that, but we still forget we've got Basuma still on, who has started. I know it's been slow progress with him, but he has kind of lately he started to show more and more. He's gradually kind of, the more we're seeing him, there's certain times where you're like, oh, you come on, like, you know you're better than that and he can do better. But I think the last kind of 5 games we've seen him, he started to show little bits more and more. And I think he's growing into that role a little bit. And I think when you've got someone like Basuma, you don't want to block his pathway. And I think Basuma could be an unbelievable player for us. If he can get the tactical aspect of how Conte wants him set up in that team right, with when he's playing in a free with a Bentancur and a Højbjerg, they have to. One of them has to obviously. I think what I've liked about Basuma in our squad is that when he is playing, Bentancur and Højbjerg seem to get forward more.
Much more freedom, don't they?
And they have a lot more freedom. That's why Bentancur's been kind of scoring those goals a lot more. It's usually when he's been on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think Kessie, he's a bit of a all-round midfielder. He's a bit box to box. He likes to get in the box a lot. He's very defensive as well. But I think Basuma can do that job just as good.
Can we really pass up the option to sign someone as good as Frank Kessie, though? Because, like, in my opinion, Frank Kessie is a better player than Yves Bissouma. Even though we've just brought in Yves Bissouma, I really like him as a player. But what Kessie has shown at AC Milan, you know, you're talking about world-class ability here.
He is a top player. It's just I just don't think Barcelona was the right move for him in the first place. It doesn't suit his style. I think in a Conte system, he's perfect for Conte. I think if you put him in that midfield three with Bentancur and a Højbjerg, I think you might see more right now than what Basuma's giving us. So in that respect, probably you're right. Look, I would take Kessie if there was a chance to take him.
Yeah,
I would definitely take him.
That's the thing. Like the only thing, like I would take Kessie because I love his ability. I love him as a player, but on the other hand, we've just got so many more pressing issues in the squad. The centre backs, the right backs, the attacking player as well.
Exactly.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Exactly. That is a big problem. And I think his agent was also had some quotes saying that Barcelona were happy with him, and Xavi was also included in that. And apparently they're saying that they're not planning for Kessie to leave Barca in January. As things stand, it's not part of our ideas or strategies. But he goes, it's a matter of time for Frank to adapt. And then he added, he's really, really happy at Barcelona. It was his biggest dream to join. And he's now adapting to like a new style. And Barca and Xavi, again, are happy with it. And they're saying that he won't leave in January. And the stories about returning to AC Milan are fake.
I see.
So,
all right.
Do you think there is a chance that he might leave?
I mean, the agent's obviously trying to pour cold water on it. So I think that tells you where maybe the player and the agent's head is at. They want to stay there. But it all depends on what Barca do. Obviously, the Barca, I think it was Jordi Cruyff that you were telling me about before that said that they want to bring in a Kudus, but they maybe don't have the funds enough. So maybe to release a bit more funds, maybe they do need to get rid of a player or two, and maybe he can be one of the ones that builds the funds.
Yeah, it's very possible. I think he's a great player. I think anyone would be lucky to have him. But it kind of goes back to that De Jong saga they had in the summer where he was just reluctant to leave.
Exactly, because you can't force a player to leave as much as you might want to try. If a player wants to stay and he's adamant he's going to stay, he doesn't have to accept any other offers.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to fight for his place and he's going to try. And De Jong, obviously, there was a lot of financial reasons why he didn't want to leave. Barca trying to do him a bit there, but
well, I'm sure Frank Kessie's on a handsome fee as well.
Of course he is, yeah. Of course he is. So that's another thing. Like, can Tottenham match what he's probably earning as well at the moment at Barcelona?
Yeah, well, that's another story for another day. But that's the Frank Kessie story. Let's move on. Let's talk about Weston McKennie. Carlo Gagonese, a reporter, says that Weston McKennie is not hugely popular with Juventus fans, and so a deal with Tottenham could make sense. Another player that's a very similar profile to the ones that we do have. Watching him in the World Cup, I haven't been overly impressed. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I have seen him for Juventus from time to time where I have been impressed with. So it's an interesting one. What's your thoughts on Weston?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't really feel like he's shown me a kind of like a reason why I'd really want to bring him into Spurs or to see him play for Spurs. I know Will Stewart loves him and he would love to see him play for Spurs, and he'd be really good. He's obviously played with Bentancur before, but I just feel, again, it's not the right type of profile that we need. I know he's a box-to-box and he likes to score a lot of goals and he gets on the end of crosses and all this kind of stuff. I just don't think we need another player who can do that because from what I've seen, he's not the type of person to really kind of dribble and drive through your midfield. We need someone who can really drive through that midfield like Kudos. He's a dribbler. He drives through.
Like Bentancur.
Like Bentancur, yeah, exactly. And what I've seen of Bentancur this season, it's kind of made me feel, well, we don't really need that as much right now. Look, again, I think out of the options, it'd be another good option to have in the squad because he's different to what we've got. He might have similar kind of traits in terms of his defensive ability. He's probably better than I don't even know if he's better than what we've got defensively. I know some people will argue with it. I know Will would argue with it. But, yeah, I just feel that, again, he's not someone we really need. I just think we've got more pressing issues, and if I was to see another midfielder come in at Spurs, I'd be a bit like, okay, it's good, it's a good option, but I'd be a bit underwhelmed because we need someone who can offer something completely different to what we have.
Yeah,
really, we need someone who will give us different. And the money that we could use for him, we could put it to a more pressing position in our squad right now.
Yeah, look, it's hard to disagree with that. Weston McKennie. I mean, when you're looking at Weston McKennie or Frank Kessie, I mean, obviously there's only one winner there, and I'd much prefer to bring a Frank Kessie in through the door. But moving on, in a different position now, instead of the central midfield, we're going to talk about Marcus Thuram. Bild, publication out in Germany, say that Borussia Mönchengladbach are now willing to sell Tottenham target Marcus Thuram for just €7 million, £6 million in January. And you're talking about a player that has scored 10 goals and 3 assists in 15 appearances this season. It did follow on from a couple of poor seasons where in the first one he got 8, second one he got 3.
Yeah.
But he's a player that's really starting to announce himself now. Obviously, he's in the France squad with in the World Cup at the moment. He is only limited to kind of sub appearances at the moment, but I have seen him quite a bit this season, and I love the look of him. He is scoring pretty much every game for Borussia Mönchengladbach at the moment, and for the attributes that he does bring, I think he would be a real big asset to this team.
Yeah, I agree. I think for €6 million, £7 million, £6 million, I think it's a no-brainer. Really, you're not going to get a player of his level. When we were looking at him a couple of seasons ago, they were quoting 20-30 million euros or something like that.
Contract is up in the summer, isn't it?
And that's why, yeah. So that to me just smells like a Paratici and Daniel Levy deal all over. 6 months left on his contract. Either they go in now, pay a little fee and get him in if they are willing to get him really cheap, or they try and do it in the summer where they get him for nothing and they pay a bigger signing on fee, which would probably be similar to what he'd probably pay to actually get him anyway. So I think he'd be a good option. I think it gives you another kind of striking option. The only thing about Thuram is he is playing as a striker at the moment now, and I kind of feel that it's not really a position we really need. I think if we're going to get an attacking player, we need someone, I think, who can play on the right wing, mainly. I think because we can say Richarlison can cover those positions, but look, if we're honest, Richarlison's been so poor when he's played on right wing, and he's played there mostly for Spurs this season. Off the left wing, Richarlison's been pretty decent, but his best position through the middle, we haven't really seen him play there yet.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to pay £60 million for a player, then we have to give him a chance to play that up front role. And I think if you bring in Thuram, I know he can play left wing, but he's having his best season as a striker. So it's kind of bringing in another type of Richarlison type of player where you're going to have that problem where you've got Harry Kane. Is he going to get ahead of Richarlison? Them two are going to be fighting for second berth. And it's like, you put Thuram on the left wing or the right wing, is he going to do as good? I'm not sure he will, because from what I've seen this season of him, he's playing well as that striker. And ideally, I want a player who's a proper winger, or someone who can play off the strikers or behind the strikers in that central attacking midfield role. And I think we've discussed it. For me, it's Kudus. He's the one that's really shining at the moment for me. Even a Gakpo, but I know that's not unrealistic. It's not going to happen. But he'd be a good option because he plays on the wing as well. So
yeah, it's a good shout, and I agree. I mean, Thuram, if he does come in, is he going to be limited to minutes like Richarlison has been at the moment? Probably. I think he can play on either side of the flank as well, but like you say, like his strongest position is clearly that centre forward role. And do we want to bring in another player where his favoured role is kind of filled up by Harry Kane, and Conte doesn't want to drop Harry Kane, and you know the story that all circles that. So for that money, for 6-7 million, I think it is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
but
I see what you mean.
But if he does come in, is he going to be limited by because of the likes of Harry Kane? Look, it's a hard situation,
isn't it? It's a hard situation.
We've begged for a striker to come in as support Harry Kane for so long, and then someone does come in, he just still doesn't bring in Harry Kane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know we've been unfortunate this season with like injuries to Richarlison, Moura, and obviously Son has had some issues, and he's also been injured a little bit. So we haven't really had a chance to really give the rotation enough and let Kane come out a bit. But I think there's also the element of everything kind of runs through Kane at the moment. So he is kind of doing everything for us at the moment.
Drop Kane a bit further deeper in like a number 10 role, and play a Richarlison or a Thuram in the number 9.
I would like to see that. That would be quite a good option, because at least you're not dropping Kane, and you've got an additional player to come on who you can rotate with.
But what formation do we play if we play that? Because it can't be 3-5-2 really. No. Well, it can be 3-5-2. Well, if it's 3-5-2, then one of our players is going to have to miss out, one of the big ones. 3-4-3, it doesn't really work, because you don't play with a number 10 in a 3-4-3. So I mean, you'd have to look to going back to 4-2-3-1 or something like that.
Or does
Conte do that?
Well, or you could do it like, rather than having the wingers come out, so rather than having like a 3-4-3 where you've got Kulu and Son on the wing, you could play 2 people behind a striker. So I know you're still going to have that problem with Kulu and Son and Richarlison, and if it, say Thuram was to come in, who do you play? But it kind of gives you a bit more dynamic, so you could maybe switch around and play Richarlison up top, Kane sitting behind him, and maybe like a Thuram or Son or whatever. But there's options, but it's whether or not do you think Conte's going to change it that much to really give someone like Thuram a chance if he was to come in. Look, €6 million is a no-brainer. I'd take him for €6 million. Yeah, it's another option.
And even if he doesn't play, you can probably make double, triple that in the transfer market in the next year or two.
As soon as you sign him,
All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk about Adrien Rabiot now. A publication called Dean Jones Soccer says that Tottenham could potentially be convinced to reignite their interest in Juventus midfielder Adrien Rabiot in January if he does well at the World Cup, having had their eye on the midfielder for some time. So if you would have asked me about Adrien Rabiot a couple of years ago, I would have said no chance. Bad attitude. He's got his mum hovering over him, causing him problems everywhere he goes. But in the last year, he has really turned it back around, and he's playing really well, scoring a lot of goals, being a real asset to Juventus in not a great Juventus team at the moment. He's definitely one of their shining lights. For France in the World Cup so far, he's been absolutely brilliant. So he's one who I'll definitely have a look at. And also, he's one with a bit of different attributes in that central midfield that can actually complement what we've got. I think good ball playing ability, likes to arrive late in the box as well, likes to get on the score sheet, good ball playing ability. So I think that he'd actually be a really good asset for us.
Yeah, I'm still I still have that doubt in my head about his like what happened before his move to Man United broke down, where he was demanding a certain fee for his wages, and he wouldn't go purely because they wouldn't give him these ridiculous wages that he wanted. Is he going to do that? And like, if Tottenham go in for him and he's going to try and get like Harry Kane level wages, which is just not going to happen at Spurs. Like I wouldn't want him coming into Spurs like an Ndombele wage where he's on more money than Son sort of thing, because that's just not good for the ethos of the squad, especially if they were to find out, say, he's on big wages. I think someone like him, I think he would add something to our team. I'm just not sure in terms of if he's got that mentality to want to play for Spurs for the badge. I think he's someone that's going to go somewhere for whoever offers him the most money. I think there is still an element of that he wants to play for a Champions League team, so he can compete at the highest level. But
in terms of what you're saying though about the wages, and you don't want him coming on more than Son or pay parity of Harry Kane, but isn't that what being a big club is, and stumping up the money and bringing in the top quality players and just stumping up the money?
Yeah, to a sense, but if you're gonna do it, I would rather them go and get like a Milinkovic-Savic and then go.
I agree with that. Yeah,
go and give him the wages for it, because you know that he's gonna give you more than what Adrian Rabiot will offer. Or, for example, like this Gvardiol stuff that's going on, go and pay the wages for him. Go and give him, if you want to bring someone like Gvardiol, go and offer him 200 grand a week, right? Pay the fee for what they want for him. That's a big club. That's a club saying we're here to really fight for something big, because then you're going to get the best players in those positions. When it's an Adrian Rabiot, you're thinking it's a big gamble. It's still going to be a gamble even if you go for Gvardiol or someone like that, but I think someone like Rabiot is always that issue where if you sign him to a 4-year contract on 200 grand a week, in his first season, if he starts throwing his dummy out the pram because he's not playing enough, or he's not getting in the team because Bentancur's ahead of him, or Conte wants to play 2 in the midfield, then I think someone like him is someone who's more likely to cause a problem in the squad.
I agree.
And that's my only doubt about him. I don't doubt his ability. I think his ability is really good. And I think, again, he would add something to us. I just doubt his attitude and mentality still. But again, we just won't know until it happens. And I just don't think Spurs will go for him, because I think someone like him will demand high wages. I could see him going to maybe like a Liverpool or someone like that. He's going to have the pick of the bunch in January because he can sign for a European club
for free.
Pre-contractual agreement. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, for me, I think I would rather spend money or big wages on a player who is top class.
All right, that's fair enough. Next up, let's talk about the man of the day, and that is Denzel Dumfries. Tuto Mercato Web saying that Chelsea are set to submit a bid for Inter Milan's Denzel Dumfries and hope to beat Tottenham to his signature. So Tottenham and Chelsea going head-to-head to sign Denzel Dumfries. Obviously, they do have Reece James there as well. We have Emerson Royale. When Dumfries is looking at 2 Champions League teams, Spurs with Antonio Conte, who could really make Dumfries, thrive, or you go to Graham Potter and Chelsea. Where do you think Dumfries' head is at?
It's a good question. It all depends on what he wants. Because if he goes to Chelsea, is he going to be the first choice? I don't think he's going to be first choice, purely because when Reece James is fit, Reece James starts. That's as simple as that. But big clubs like to have competition in places. They've already got Chilwell and Cucurella as their left wing backs. Yeah. So when you've got Reece James and Dumfries as your right wing backs, it's a fucking good, a good mixture, right? For me, it all depends on what the player values to him the most. Tottenham is still a Champions League club. He'll get Champions League football at Tottenham. It's just a matter of, will he be able to? Does he believe that he's gonna come here and be first choice? I think he'd be stupid not to think that, if I'm honest. Just all he has to do is look at the bench and look at those players, and I think that should make his mind up.
All
straight
he has
away.
to do is put in one cross, and that's it. You got the job, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, I would love to see. I think I was a bit hesitant on Dumfries because I've seen what Inter Milan fans think. I've spoken to Iggy about it. And he sometimes they get frustrated with him, but I just got this feeling that you probably wouldn't get as frustrated with him as you do with Emerson.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that what he would offer, what I saw today anyway, again, 2 assists and a goal, right? And the goal as well was well took. Like, if that was Emerson, I said it to you during the game, you're going to see that go outside the stadium if Emerson's getting in that position.
Probably rebounds off the golden cockerel there.
Yeah, exactly. So probably rebounds off that and it bounces off him and goes in the box, goes in. That's like an Emerson goal. But yeah, I think he would offer a lot more in an attacking sense. I can see why maybe there are talks about his defensive abilities. Maybe it's not as strong, but when you play, if you want your Conte has said many times, and he said it in that mini documentary he did on Spurs TV, where he wants his wing backs up the pitch like right midfielders, like right wingers. He wants them up the pitch in the box, and I think Dumfries is perfect for what Conte wants. And I think if Conte can get him, because he didn't get a chance to manage him because he came in just after Conte left. If Conte got a chance to manage him, I think he would improve him defensively.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he'd improve him as a player. And I think he would be really good at Spurs. I think he'd do a really good job. I think the fans would really take to him.
I completely agree. And if we were to sign competent centre-backs that can you know, actually defend, then him being up the pitch and not being as good defensively wouldn't matter as much as maybe it does now. No,
I completely agree. I mean, when you have to rely on Eric Dyer and Ben Davis, Romero's got a whole lot to do by himself. And if Romero's not playing well, he can't rely on Davis and
Sanchez.
Dyer and Sanchez. Yeah, he can't. So when you raise the level of those centre-backs, Romero's going to have less work to do because he can rely on his teammates to bail him out if he's made a mistake. And I think when you've got a strong defensive line as well as a keeper as well, I think it allows that freedom for those wing-backs to play the way Conte wants them to play.
Yeah.
And I just think the way he was played today, I think he'd really suit a Conte system. I think he'd be good.
Yeah, completely agree. 2 assists and a goal today. I thought his performance was really, really good in the last 16 against USA.
I agree.
Last but not least, Emerson Royale. Tuto Mercato Web say Emerson Royale is one of the most popular profiles for Inter Milan when it comes to potential replacement for Denzel Dumfries.
Swap deal straight away.
I mean, I would take a swap deal every day of the week.
100%.
Even the 8th day of the week, I'll take a swap deal for him. But
we'll make a new day. This Emerson Day.
Who at Inter Milan is making that decision to say Emerson Royale is the number one? But you know what? Let's not say anything negative about Emerson Royale today because he's a brilliant player and I'll be very sad to lose him.
Yep, 100%. I think you've got the right glasses on when you're seeing Emerson Royale. You want to do a swap deal? Absolutely. Take him, no problem. We'll take Dumfries in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do a swap deal for Emerson for Dumfries, I mean, that would be absolutely insane.
I think Paratici would have redeemed himself for making that mistake in signing him in the first place.
I agree.
If he could go get Dumfries. Yeah. And if that is true, right, that we want him and that Inter Milan actually like the look of Emerson Royale, I think it's a no-brainer. Really.
Absolute no-brainer. No-brainer. Get it done ASAP.
But I do think though Emerson Royale in a different league, maybe like the Italian league, where it is more defensive, where he might not have to get up the pitch as much.
What about in a back four?
In a back four, he might do better. Yeah, I think he might do better because it's a different system. I know Spurs obviously bought him for a back four system, but even the way Spurs like to play, we still like to push our fullbacks up more. So
look at Kyle Walker and Danny Rose. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it was a different system then.
It was a different system, but they were just brilliant at the time on what they did. They were so good. They suffocated teams because of how much they pushed teams back.
He should go play for like a Burnley or someone like that. That defend 11 men behind the ball.
I think so. Yeah, I think he might do better in an Italian team. I think even in Spain, where it's a bit more technical, he might do well in a Spanish team. So I do think there are options for him. It's just whether or not we're going to see that in January or in the summertime. But I do feel Emerson's time is coming to an end soon.
Yeah, I think he'll be gone by summer latest, to be honest. So. But look, that is your Tottenham update today. Big up for Danny for coming on with me today. We are about to go live for the second game as well. 7 o'clock kickoff, Argentina against Australia. Let us know your thoughts on any of the news stories we brought you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.